Hi, Sue Jeffers. Welcome to our continuing series of Meet the Candidates. Never before have we had an election as important as the election coming up in November. It has been my pleasure to introduce you to so many great candidates. And today, this is a good one. We have an outstate candidate from Senate District 12. Welcome, Mr. Sparks.
Thank
How are you?
Great,
and
great.
And it's not, there's no S, right?
That's correct.
All right,
That's correct.
all right. I
People
apologize.
often put it on there, but
I know, I don't just have it up there.
it's feel like the
Yes, yes. Tell us where your district is. Senate District 12. Usually that doesn't mean much to anyone.
Okay, well, it's basically from the Nisswa, northern line of Nisswa, down through Little Falls, to Royalton is the southern boundary, and then it's like the western two-thirds of Morrison County. And so it's basically Brainerd and Little Falls and surrounding suburbs.
And Steve Park, why did you decide you wanted to run for Senate?
Well, I've been very active kind of in the background in the Republican Party for a number of years, and actually worked pretty much full-time for one of my opponents in this particular election, making full-time phone calls. But like a lot of people in the Republican Party, I was a two-issue Republican, life and family, and just didn't pay attention to the fiscal issues. And I think
shame on you. That's how we got into this problem, because people didn't pay attention to the fiscal issues. But you're awake now.
Yes.
You're awake now, and you're running for Senate.
Right.
But you decided not to run in the Republican Party. You decided to run in the Constitution Party. A lot of people don't know about the Constitution Party. They don't know what the Constitution Party stands for. So give us a little tutorial.
Well, you've heard of strict and liberal interpretation of the Constitution. We're the very strict interpretation of the Constitution. And probably, there are a number of issues. Probably the most important issue constitutionally at this point is what's called the 10th Amendment. Is basically certain powers have been given to the federal government and everything else is reserved to the states. And slowly but surely, basically the federal government controls everything now and the states have to jump for the money. And also one thing I'm very proud of in our platform is that it says we acknowledge the benevolence and sovereignty of God and the salvation given by Jesus Christ. And we believe that the Constitution and our whole government is founded on biblical principles. And we've really gotten away from those. And part of it's going back to principles, that we've basically compromised and spun things and made things fit. And it worked very well for the first 150 years. And the last 50 years, it's been kind of
so many people have
washed away. So.
Have forgotten about our God-given rights.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. And I actually looked at the Constitution Party back 4 years ago, or no, actually maybe 6 years ago, when the last senatorial state in our district was held. And I was kind of upset with the Republican Party at that point. But a lot of people think, well, third party, you don't really have a chance. But actually in California in the last presidential election, if all the Christians who didn't vote voted, it would have given the electoral votes to another candidate. So and a lot of people we're going after are people that are just fed up and are not voting anymore. And we need to go back to those traditional values. And so I'm really seeking people to come back and to vote and to exercise their right. I get very angry when I vote and people wear those little stickers say I vote and someone doesn't have one, because people are dying. People are dying every day for our right to vote and our freedoms, and I get a little emotional about that. So.
I do too. I'm an election judge. I'm the one handing out those stickers. And then I look at some of the people and I think, oh my gosh, you are so uninformed about the issues. But it's voting is fantastic, and we have to get people to vote. And we have to get them out to vote for very, very, very good candidates too. A lot of my friends are members of the Constitution Party.
Okay, so
I'm sure that doesn't surprise
you.
The
website is CN, like constitutionpartymn.org. And you can also go to my website, parkforsenate.com, and it'll take you to that. And go look at it. Look at the platform. I mean, it's
an excellent platform.
It's very exciting. It's very exciting.
Yeah. And by the way, they send out a newsletter every month.
That's right.
That is fabulous. And I get it. I read it. I talk about it on my radio show. So it's because the Constitution Party, its name I mean, think about it, you know, it works. All right, so you decided to run for Senate. You decided to run as a member of the Constitution Party. You got the endorsement. Have you been in parades? Have you been door knocking, getting out and about?
I've been doing some door knocking. I had to go get 500 people to sign a petition even to get on the ballot.
Explain that to the viewers.
Well, if you're a third party, you're considered a minor party, and so you have to, it's equivalent to being in a primary. You have to demonstrate some support. And I think that's reasonable. I mean, 500, I was very intimidated initially, but it was very easy. People were very, very accepting of it. And I've been doing some door knocking, but have been to 2 county fairs. And what was at a number of parades. I've been in the crowd, but actually we don't have a huge crowd at this point. And to be in a parade with 2 or 3 people, that doesn't look so good. And we're going up against big organizations.
Yes, you are.
Well-funded organizations, well-organized organizations. And that's good in some ways, but it's bad because those organizations put a lot of pressure on candidates to conform and to compromise. And I think that's part of the real problem. And the Constitution Party is trying to bring us back to real values. And you have to have a target of where you're going, principles where you're going. And our principles have gotten moved farther and farther left, actually. I should move to the right, moving to the left. And we need to have a clear idea where we want to go. And it's going to take a while to get there. I mean, it's like turning a aircraft carrier around. I mean, and if you read our platform, there's a lot of very principled, kind of idealistic ideas there. But with that, that's where we need to go. And really the important issue, I think, is local government. We really need to give the power back to the people. Everything that can be done locally should be done locally. And I guess I'm jumping subjects here, but I really think that a lot of the kind of welfare things should be done by local charities because people will step up. If someone's hurting and they know them in the community, people will step up to help them. But also there's accountability in that. And in local government, there's accountability that, you can go. It's much more financially efficient. It's very accountable. You can go to your city council meeting. You can go to your board of commissioners very easily.
We can jump into some of the individual issues that you want to talk about for sure, because I know the viewers want to hear about it too. But I want to ask you, the viewers are going to want to know, why should they vote for you? Steve Park, why should they vote for you?
That's a good question, because I'm just kind of a citizen who stepped forward. And my wife said to me, "How can you ever run? You're too honest." I'm basically.
That's a good problem to have.
Well, with me, what you see is what you get, and I'm very straight, bottom line. Address the issues kind of person.
And have you ever run for office before?
Well, I ran for commissioner actually back 9 years ago. Actually, when I first came to the area, and then I ran for the school board at one point. And those weren't really serious campaigns. This is a very serious campaign. This is
a key election. This election is one of the most important elections we've ever had to face. Right now, we have the Democrats in control of Washington, D.C., the Democrats in control of St. Paul. Right. Granted, Governor Pawlenty, who's a so-called Republican, is our governor, and he's our goalie. He's done some very good things. He's also done some things that made people very upset, and signed some things into law that maybe need to go away. So how about if we address some of the issues? How about if we talk?
That's fine. But more than that, I would say that I'm just giving you a third choice, and it's a hardcore principled choice, and it's moving back, not spinning, but going back to the real principles.
Got it. Okay, so first and foremost, let's talk about the budget.
Okay.
The state of Minnesota spends too much money.
Absolutely.
When the new people get sworn in come January 2011, supposedly they're going to be $6, $8, $10 billion in the hole because they've spent too much money last year and the year before and the year before and the year for decades.
Right.
So if the state of Minnesota has $33 billion of revenue coming in the next biennium, how much money should the state spend in that biennium?
33 billion.
Perfect.
Perfect.
That's
absolutely,
the correct
absolutely.
answer.
Okay, and it's interesting. I've listened to a number of inputs for this, and one person made an analogy of a farmer, that if a farmer doesn't have enough money coming in, he sells something. He adjusts his budget, as we do in our household budgets. You can't just run deficits. It just can't be done.
Makes total sense.
But, under the present administration, they'll bail you out, but that shouldn't be happening.
Right,
Shouldn't
exactly
be
right.
Shouldn't be happening.
So in November, we'll be electing a new governor. We have one governor who wants to tax the rich, which won't raise enough money to pay for all the things he wants to pay for. So that means he'll be taxing all the rest of us too. We have another one who wants to tax and the rich and the poor. He wants to tax everything from clothing to cigarettes to alcohol to you name it, and institute gambling to help fund the beast, to fund government. And then you have another candidate who has released a 3-part budget plan to balance the budget. I'm pretty sure all the viewers know who my candidate is because I've been very outspoken about it, and it's Tom Emmer, so that's fine. I love his plan. But we're going to have to deal with that deficit. Last year, in the state of Minnesota, the way that the Democrats who controlled the Senate and the House in the state of Minnesota, the way they tried to address the budget was to open the session with $1 billion bonding bill. Is that the right solution?
I really don't think so. There's a guy named Phil Hartwig who
ran for governor.
Ran with looking for the nomination for governor, and he didn't. But I think he affected the process, which was very helpful. And he came up. He said basically Minnesota is one of the largest real estate holders in the country, and that some of that land could be sold. He's also suggested that school districts might be combined, and actually if we use the same formula that the city of New York uses, we could save I'm really bad on $600 million in the first biennium.
That's real money in my book.
Definitely. And there's a plan that I found very helpful that's been put together by a number of business groups and have really researched this in great detail. I frankly am more of an idea person. I'm not a real good numbers cruncher. So it's minnesotabudgetsolutions.com. And I found that very helpful.
It's a great website.
It's a good place to start from. And they actually balance it. I mean, they say if we do these things, looked at it in great detail, we could take care of the $8 billion deficit and balance the books. And they've gone into in great detail and researched it. And it's a good starting place anyway, to say this is, we can balance the budget doing this. So what is your offer?
Exactly.
And I suspect, I've not really looked, Tom Emmer has just come out with his materials this week, and I haven't really looked at it, but I suspect it's going to be very similar to the Minnesota Budget Solutions situation.
It has a lot of great ideas. One of the ideas that I really liked was, if I had my way, I would eliminate the corporate income tax in the state of Minnesota.
Absolutely.
Because the corporate income tax is just passed on to the consumers. The corporations don't pay it, we pay it.
That's true.
And that would be very, very difficult to get that passed with the current batch of representatives and senators over in St. Paul. Tom Emmer has a plan to phase it down.
Wonderful.
Which I think is fabulous too. And there are lots of ideas, new ideas like that, whether it's selling off some of the state assets, the land or buildings or whatever it may be, whether it's combining school districts, whether it's reducing the corporate income tax rate. These are ideas, exactly the kind of ideas that we're going to need to fix the budget problems in the state of Minnesota.